all across much of the country. It's where we begin tonight. 38 million people across 20 states from California to the Mississippi River right now living under heat alerts. Record highs in the forecast today from Cheyenne, Wyoming, where the forecast high is 99, to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, which could reach 109. Between now and Wednesday, nearly 3 dozen new record highs could be set. The heat wave working its way to the east tonight, leaving the most vulnerable in its path at considerable risk. Experts warning it's not summer as usual, but rather another global gut check moment from a changing climate, just as we face new obstacles in dealing with it. We'll get to that and the forecast from our team standing by in just a moment. But let's start with Miguel Almaguer.
Shattering records and threatening lives. Tonight, this is the brutal broil, baking tens of millions.
It's sweltering, and what's the worst is there's no air moving.
The blistering heat wave turning much of the nation into an oven. 141 million people experiencing temperatures above 90 degrees. Oven. 141 million people experiencing temperatures above 90 degrees. 51 million sweltering in triple digits. 90 degrees. 51 million sweltering in triple digits.
I make sure to bring water, take breaks.
Setting records across much of the country. Today, heat alerts for at least 20 states from California to Mississippi. Salt Lake City tying their all-time high Sunday, 107 degrees.
What?
Houston and San Antonio.
Breaking records. This is just the middle of July.
In San Antonio having their hottest summers on record.
Without a doubt, it is a life and death situation.
Dallas hitting 106, where Michael Steed, suffering from chronic health problems and living on a fixed income, could face a deadly summer.
I don't have central aisle, and it would have me at over 100 degrees inside of the house.
In Fresno, California, where it will be triple digits all week, the fire department is responding to dozens of calls for heat exhaustion.
How quickly can this weather turn deadly?
You know, it could be, depending on your age, it could be within a half hour.
In Scottsdale, a ring camera captured a delivery driver collapsing in the heat. Record temperatures and historic drought also forcing cash-strapped cattle ranchers to sell their herds, which will inevitably drive up beef.
This is how it started in 2007. It started towards the ranchers either selling their cows or having to go 2 or 3 states over just to be able to get hay to bring it back to their cows. You keep in mind, Texas is the longhorn steer country, state of the country, and whenever their market starts dwindling because of the heat, because of the exhaustion, because of no hay, that's whenever you'll see prices. If we think we're seeing high prices now on T-bone steaks, it's a very, very good possibility. Come this fall, it could actually almost double in comparison to what it is now. Last time I looked, a good sized T-bone that used to be in the neighborhood of $8 for one good sized thick T-bone, now would probably cost you about 16, between 14 and 16. So if the price doubles, you go from there. Hopefully it won't double, but I'm just saying we are dealing with something here unlike any other beast that we've ever dealt with, pertaining to what we have unleashed here upon to the planet in regards towards global warming. And you know, there only comes a certain amount of intercession prayer that one human being or even 2 or 3 human beings can perform, but whenever the balance is so out of balance to the point that your prayers are not being heard, whenever it's so out of balance that only certain people's prayers can be heard, I begin to wonder if even God would even listen to me because of the extreme dire temperatures that's coming up onto the planet the way that it is, because he is allowing for this to happen so that it will awaken us. You still have people today that are still climate deniers. They're global climate deniers. They'll tell you, oh, this has done this before, oh, this is normal, oh, this is part of the deal where we swing from one side to another side, and you know, we evolve, we go from one extreme to another. Not like this. Not like this. Not whenever you see glaciers the size almost of Empire State Buildings falling off into the ocean, and whenever you're seeing penguins and white bear that's running further to the north because of the melting of the ice, and whenever you're seeing bears that's on bodies of ice that's basically trapped because they broke out into the ocean and now they don't know what to do, you're seeing a phenomenon, a abnormality that, yes, we seen in the year 2007. This could actually beat that in which what happened, because we're starting out on a leg similar thereof. And like I said, whenever it comes to making intercession prayer for rain, you know, there was a time whenever the Dust Bowl hit that they would pay people to come out and have rain dances. Have rain dances. And pray for rain. And ordinarily those rain dances turned out to be nothing but fake fables of a group of people that only wished that they had control in the supernatural catastrophes that obviously are going to be falling here upon to the earth, because it talks about those things. It says to pray that you're worthy to escape these things, or pray that you can endure these things that will be fallen upon to the earth, pertaining to the great sorrows of all the sin, the wickedness, and obviously what we're not paying attention to towards what we're doing to Mother Nature in regards towards this planet. And until we do awaken, and until we do see a revival, even I myself don't know that I could make an intercession prayer. I mean, I prayed this past week because once I seen the intensity of how bad that it was in the heat and no rain, yeah, we prayed for rain. Yeah, we got rain this time. And it done a good job at it, because it would rain a while and stop, rain a while and stop, rain a while and stop, and that's exactly what the farmers need. They need a good soaking rain. We've been having a lot of heavy dews this side of the Mississippi. That's also a plus. But whenever the air becomes so stagnant that there is no dews, and you can't get the kingdom of God to listen pertaining to making intercession prayer for the atrocities that mankind is performing here upon to the planet in regards to the great sorrows, then we're in trouble. And I'm just not speaking that pertaining to all of y'all, but I'm speaking that also of myself, because there are certain requirements that even I myself am struggling towards trying to overcome, because of the temptations and the wickedness and the chemicals and the TV and the electricity with the air conditioning and all the gizmos and the gadgets that is so easy to obtain and get a hold of, and weaken us, just as the book of Daniel talks about, for we will become wiser but weaker. You know, we're so weak now we won't even get up and change the channel on a TV set because we got a remote control to do it for us. Well, you know what? I can remember a time whenever we didn't have remote controls. There wasn't no such thing as a remote control. A matter of fact, you went up and turned the knob to determine whether or not you was going to go to one channel or the other, and usually you had somebody on the outside that you was hollering out, is it there? Is it there yet? Is it there? Pertaining to a good reception, because you had to turn the antenna almost in a perfect position before you'd be able to pick up even a halfway decent show that the quality of the penciling in that material was so bad, you would have probably got as good of quality out of a black and white picture whenever TV first come out, towards the color and stuff. I remember being up in Chicago. This was in the early 60s. And they was just starting to come out with color TVs, and man, them things was freaking huge. I mean, they was wide, they was heavy, they was bulky. In comparison, in today, you can get a TV today that's probably less than 4 inches thick. I'm thinking. I don't know, that may have something out there now that maybe even has shrunk it even more so, but the TV and the color content, the pencil content, the whole 9 yards ain't nothing even in comparison, as well as air conditioning that has weakened us, as well as all these other amenities that we've created for ourselves. See, they didn't have chemicals back in Jesus' day. They didn't have electricity and running water and internet and smartphone technology back in Jesus' day. Sin still abounded, but it abounded in a different format. Today, sin now is abundant almost in every format, including our courts, including our churches, including other things that used to be considered honest and good. Now we're finding out that ain't.
Is later this year.
They're out of grass, out of water. Nobody's making any hay.
With drought also crippling Europe, the UK is poised to be hotter than 99% of the planet, up to 30 degrees above average, forcing the closures of airport runways, crumbling in the summer weather. Tonight, our nation already feeling the heat, with the hottest weeks still to come.
Well, Miguel, Central California is no stranger to hot temperatures, but what's happening there in Fresno is pretty unusual.
That's right, Lester. Central California is going to have one of its hottest summers on record here in Fresno. It's expected to be 104 degrees later on today, and those triple digits will likely stick around for weeks. Lester.
All right, Miguel, thanks. We're joined by Al Roker, who's keeping a close eye on the heat wave and the severe storms. What are we looking at?
Talk to us, Al.
We've got 36 million people of us from the Dakota, 38 million from the Dakotas all the way to Texas. Heat warnings, advisories, and watches. For tomorrow, 108. That's what it's going to feel like in Wichita. 111 in Dallas, 110 in Little Rock, 107 in Baton Rouge. And not much relief in sight as we go into the end of the week. Temperatures in the 90s in New York, Washington, Nashville, and St. Louis. And it's going to last like that right on into next week. And for our friends in the UK and parts of Europe, we're talking 102 in Lyon, 105 in Paris, London 101, their all-time record 102, July 25th, 2019. Here in the Northeast, strong storms pushing in, airport delays from Boston down to Washington as this system pushes through. 19 million people at risk for severe weather from Portland all the way down to Roanoke.
All right, Al, thank you. This severe weather certainly underscoring the increasing role of climate change and the challenges America faces in trying to combat it. Ann Thompson has that story.
As the nation swelters through this heat wave, any immediate climate action is on the ropes after 2 stinging defeats. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin from Coleridge, West Virginia, today defending his decision to block President Biden's climate legislation, including tax incentives for wind and solar power and electric vehicles. Manchin says it calls for spending that will send inflation even higher.
I haven't walked away from anything, and inflation is my greatest concern.
Add to that the Supreme Court limiting the EPA's ability to regulate carbon emissions from power plants, the nation's second largest source of the gases driving climate change. What do those two developments do to President Biden's climate agenda?
Well, there's no sugarcoating it. They are major setbacks.
Biden hoped to cut U.S. greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030.
You know, I'm listening to all this and I'm watching all this. You keep in mind the very people that we consider to be our experts or professionals are the very people that have stuffed their pockets full for the past 30 plus years, and now those same people are living out their remaining golden years. And man, did they ever take advantage of the petroleum oil market during the time of abuse in this planet. And now, since the abuse is starting to surface, the very people that's responsible, that helped to allow for this to get in the shape that it's in, are the very people that's now kind of dwindling away. And we really can't, blame it on the early or the late baby boomers, because now they're senior citizens, and we can't hurt nobody's feelings in regards towards romping and tromping on the people that actually allowed for this to get into shape pertaining to your climate deniers. And I can understand that, because we all make mistakes and everybody's human and nobody's perfect, right? Including myself. But to think that we still have people today that's either my age or older that are still climate deniers, that are still Donald J. Trump deniers, makes me think that we're dealing with a society that has reached a point of a hopelessness society. Because if the proof is in the pudding and you can see the patterns and you can see the proof in what's going on and what had went on, and if everybody's story matches the same, how come people is having so much difficulty in today's society towards believing in the truth? I'm going to tell you why. Satan's got them bamboozled, that's why. You tell them a lie, they'll believe it. You tell them the truth, and they'll not believe it. They're warped. Oh, they're sincere. They're as sincere as the little boy that gets talked into strapping a suicide vest on his body over in the Middle East and walking into a crowd of people and pulling the detonator cord, thinking that he's going to die, go to heaven, have 99 virgins, and be able to drink all the wine he wants with Allah. He's pretty sincere whenever he's willing to pull that detonator cord and end his own life to end other people's lives. So, obviously, the principle here isn't about being sincere. The principle is about being real, and it's about being honest, and it's about being true. Whenever you have a group of people that's kind of like an alcoholic that refuses that they got a problem to be able to fix their problem, odds are me and you and anybody else could talk to that person until we was black and blue in the face. And until they themselves are willing to come to their own reality that they've got a problem, can't really nobody fix their problem. And that includes my problems, that includes everybody else's problems, because everybody's got challenges, everybody's got weaknesses, and most everybody's got problems. We may be in denial about those problems, and we may want to put on this fake false image and act like everything's hunky-dory and ain't nothing bothering us and that we're bulletproof. But if the truth be known, I'm going to say 99.9% of the people has some sort of problems. And if it ain't nothing else, it's their own physical handicap problems that they're having to deal with. You know, everybody, I mean, I wish that I had the energy that I once had to be able to push myself and have the zeal, the long stamina to be able to work and stand on my feet and work and work and work and keep working. I know that I don't. And because of the way that the government has poisoned me at my age, now I have to discipline myself towards, you know what? There comes a time you got to say, you know what? You've been in this heat long enough. You need to get out. You need to go get you a drink of water. Slow down. Because at our age, in our conditions, it can happen to us in a twinkling of an eye.
Polls show a majority of Americans, 65%, are worried about global warming. But only 1% of voters say climate change is the top issue facing the country. Among voters under 30, that number rises only to 3%.
Climate change always seems to be the issue that we can put off until tomorrow. That we at the point...
Kind of like the gun issue. We kept putting it off, kept putting it off, until finally, I think we may have touched off on a sensitive topic to the point that we may have some people that's willing to change some of the laws now pertaining to gun violence. But it's in such of a slow motion to the degree that it has taken 30 plus years to awaken people into this stupor that they've been in. And that's exactly what it is. It's a stupor. They've been bewitched.
That we can no longer put off acting on climate change?
We absolutely should not be putting off action on climate change. 30 years ago, it was a problem for the future. It is a problem for now.
President Biden is promising executive action, but climate activists believe without Congress acting to speed up wind and solar installations and electric vehicle purchases, it won't be enough. Lester?
All right, Ann, thank you. Tonight, new details and previously unseen body cam footage revealing more about the failed response to the Uvalde, Texas school shooting that claimed
Whenever I watch this right here, it makes me sick at my stomach to think that a group of men that's been trained, that had the proper equipment, the proper body armor, proper guns, that somebody could have intervened either by going through the roof or taking a vehicle and driving it through the side of the side of the school or something. Somebody should be held accountable for a group of men that basically stood around wondering who was in charge and what to do next for over an hour before they finally acted upon that in which what they should have acted upon within the first 7 minutes.
Innocent lives. Sam Brock has the latest.
It's the clearest picture yet of catastrophe. Minutes after entering the school, officers retreating under fire. Then, a plea from one responder grazed by a bullet to confront the gunman again in those precious early minutes. The newly released body cam footage offering a glimpse into the chaos and lack of organization.
We're having a problem getting in the room.
At one point, school police chief Pete Arredondo heard pleading with the shooter who had already unleashed more than 100 rounds.
Sir, let me know if there's any kids in there or anything. This could be peaceful.
A new
preliminary report into the emergency response, finding 376 officers arrived, more than half state and federal agents trained in responding to mass shootings. The authors concluding egregiously poor decision-making, saying the officers, quote, failed to prioritize saving the lives of innocent victims over their own safety.
I'm a father of 3, and sadly, I've dealt with mass shootings before. Why did this happen to us? We're here today to provide some of those answers in Uvalde.
Now I'm going to give an answer of what he just got through asking. Why? Why? And I know this isn't the answer that people want to listen to, but I'm going to give it anyway. We are dealing with plumes. We are dealing with domes. We are dealing with chemicals. We are dealing with assault rifles, military style assault, high magazine style guns, and we're also dealing with the supernatural. You can't tell me that the powers of the satanic forces did not have some sort of a influence in bringing total chaos to that situation, to the point that innocent lives died on account of it. It says very clearly that Satan's out to kill, steal, and destroy, and even Jesus said that he was a murderer and a liar from the get-go, and that he's an author of confusion. Whenever we have a society that has become inundated by these sorcery, demonic spirits, this is the results of seeing the manifestation of evil dominate into a certain particular event that is unexplainable, of the reason why so many men responded and reacted the way that they did. It's almost speechless in what we're dealing with, regardless whether it be the weather or we're dealing with events like this right here. And this ain't the only event. I mean, I was out there by the memorial a while ago and looking at all the names, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I guess I need to get back a hold of that woman that originally done the George Floyd deal out here towards the massive shootings, because now there's a complete extra row in comparison to the row that was already there that has happened since 2 years ago, since I put that up there. I need to update it. And this is one of the mass shootings that I'll have to put on that memorial pertaining to the gun violent Purple Heart Memorial out here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 3255. It's absolutely it's a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon that is happening, that we, the people, should have been on top of this, just like the global warming pertaining to our atmosphere changing 20 plus years ago, 30 plus years ago, and we're just now coming out of this stupor, or this bewitching that has occurred in our lives, and we're just now beginning to start realizing, oh my God, this is really happening to us, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. And I'm sad to say that the best is yet to come, indicating the worst. Regardless whether it's the school shootings, the gun violence, which hopefully won't be no more, nothing in comparison to this, or the environmental changes. The best is yet to come, coming near a neighborhood near you. We have to start training our officers, not if it happens, but when it happens.
Breakdown of the failed response will be enough for these families.
Don't forget about these kids. Every day. Their names, not people, they're babies.
11 children died in room 111. Miraculously, 11 survived in room 112, including Gilbert Mata.
How's your son doing right now?
He's not good. He looks okay, but you can tell that he's changed.
Children are not supposed to witness a grown man that goes to war, can't even deal with PTSD. Now a little mind like his has to go through it.
The report details cross-communication, Wi-Fi that didn't work properly, and information about 911 calls some officers were learning about on scene.
All the victims, child call 911.
Though that knowledge did not prompt a change in approach.
I knew that something was wrong, but
Arnulfo Reyes was shot in his arm and back.
I remember a lot of things. Just him shooting me first, and then shooting the kids.
It took 77 minutes for that help to arrive. Every one of his students was killed.
I didn't hear any trying to open the door or anything.
You did not hear any efforts to try to open that door while you were bleeding potentially to death inside of the classroom?
No.
Sam, as we learn more and more about this, I think we all get back to that same question. If they had responded quickly, if they had moved in on that classroom, would lives have been saved? Is anyone really dealing with that question?
The report does address it specifically, Lester. It says it is plausible that some of the victims could have survived if help had just arrived sooner. And right now, some families are before the school board for about a 45-minute space in what is expected to be emotionally charged as they hold up signs with their kids' faces on it and calls for accountability. Lester?
All right, Sam.
You got to rush a situation like that. You can't give the individual time to think what his next move is going to be. I just use a quick illustration, then I'm going to let you go. My father was in World War II, and apparently he must have been pretty good at what he was doing towards being basically a drill sergeant up in Washington State. And I remember being out here by my grandmother's house. I was probably in my 20s, maybe 30s. I'm going to say 20s. And his brother J.W. drank a lot. And they argued a lot. And they got loud at each other a lot. And they debated each other a lot. But then usually they would calm down and they would go their separate ways and everything would get ironed out. Well, this time whenever they got in a heated, hotted blaze, I think somebody got a little too loud. And the next thing you know, a gun come out, which was J.W., who always kept a little snub-nosed 22 that pulled the gun out on my dad, and they probably couldn't have been no more than about 3 foot from each other. And I remember watching him in his performances towards immediately, rather than jumping away from his brother, he dove in towards his brother, pushing the arm that had the gun off to the side while it discharged, while attacking his own brother and getting him down on the ground to be able to control the situation. That's the way an officer of the law is supposed to be trained. They're supposed to be trained that as soon as something appears to be out of place, some sort of violence, some sort of hostility, rather than run away from the problem, you address the problem, because if you run away from the problem, then you become a hostage to the problem. Now, there's always that chance that whenever you rush somebody, that they may overreact their initial actions and go ahead and pull the trigger anyway. And if that happens, it happens, but at least maybe they won't be able to get but one shot off on you rather than sit there and fill you full of holes. Because if you're running away from that person, then that person has control over your life to the point that he can hold your life hostage while he's sitting there filling you full of holes. And there's nothing at that point in time that you can do. It wouldn't matter if you did try to rush him, because you would already be bleeding out and hurting and crippled to the point that you wouldn't be able to do nothing. You would be incapacitated by the pain. So I just thought I'd throw that out there in regards towards seeing various troubles that I was fortunate enough not to have to embark up into. But I know that the training technique of how that they're supposed to be trained, and those officers for 77 minutes did not respond the way that they was trained. And it's really sad. Good luck to all of us. Shalom.